Today I'm going to try to answer the question, is populism necessarily right-wing? So in the media and in political discussions, we hear a lot about populism, but most of the time it's used as a pejorative term and often used as synonymous with fascism or racism or right-wing ideology. And that's not necessarily the case, and I want to talk about why.
You keep using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means.
What is populism fundamentally? Well, populism is a range of political approaches that deliberately appeal to the people, often juxtaposing this group against the elite. At least that's the Wikipedia definition. So I can't remember who said this, but they said populism is not really an ideology, but if it is, it may be half an ideology. So what is meant by that? Well, in populism, there's this idea of us, the people, versus them, the elite or the establishment. But of course, everything depends on who you define as the people and who you define as the elite. There are versions of populism that really appeal to the most fundamental fears and prejudices of people, and then populism becomes demagoguery, and that's certainly not something that I like or admire, but I actually believe, and this may sound as a contradiction, but I actually believe that you can be populist without being a demagogue. That's a key. How do you appeal to people's needs, people's everyday ordinary needs and aspirations? Contrast that with the aspirations of the elite, and still do it in a way that respects people's intelligence. I want to give two examples of what I consider smart left-wing populism. The first example I want to give is an allegory made by Tommy Douglas, who was the first leader of the federal New Democratic Party in Canada. And it is the allegory of Mouseland. So Mouseland is basically the story of a land populated by mice, where mice live their everyday lives. But when election time comes, they vote for a government, but they elect cats. And sometimes they elect white cats, sometimes they elect black cats, but of course the cats pass laws that is in the interest of cats and not mice. And of course, at the end of the story, one mouse says, "Wait, we're mice. Why don't we elect a government made of mice?" So I just love this story. It's really smart, simple, left-wing populism, saying, there's a fundamental difference of interest in the interests of mice and of cats. Second example is what I consider the best political slogan that I've seen in the last 30 years, which was the one of the Occupy movement, which is simply, "We are the 99%. So basically, in 5 words, they summarize this idea that the interests of, and it's not even 1%, it's 0.001%, but the interests of this group of the capitalist elite, the capitalist establishment, the financial elite, those who control the levers of production, these giant corporations, the interests of these people are not the same as the interests of the vast, 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 vast majority of the people. And again, that's a form of populism. It's left-wing populism. And you know what? I also think it's smart populism. If a corporation makes billions of dollars but doesn't pay their own workers a living wage, well, you know what? The interests of the corporation and the interests of the workers are fundamentally different. The interests of a corporation that's gouging consumers and the interests of consumers themselves are fundamentally different. The interests of a corporation that wants to, let's say, privatize good public healthcare is not compatible with the interests of the people who rely on that good public healthcare. But of course, there's the strand of crazy right-wing populism that is very scary. In the U.S., for instance, you have politicians, of course, mostly around the Republican Party, who are the establishment, who are multimillionaires and sometimes multi-billionaires, and they pretend that they care about the plight of the average blue-collar worker who lost his job. Like, these are people who have $2 million golden bidets. They don't give a shit about the needs of ordinary people. But some people believe them. Like it's like chicken voting for Colonel Sanders. By the way, Colonel Sanders is bad, but Bernie Sanders is okay. So this idea that populism is necessarily right-wing is wrong. It can be right-wing and it can be used for ill, but that's not necessarily the case. And again, populism is not in and of itself an ideology. It is an approach. It's a strategy. It's a language. And to be perfectly honest, if the left doesn't use its own brand of populism, that needs to be smart and so forth. But if we don't learn how to use this tool, you can be sure that the right will. And right now in the US, I would say people like Bernie Sanders, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, they use a certain form of populism. So I know that this was a short video and there would be a lot of nuances to put, but I've been wanting to do this for some time. It really frustrates me when I see people denouncing populism and they use it as synonymous with fascism or racism, and it's not the case. If we don't understand what it means, then we can't have the proper approach to counter certain versions of it. There'll be more in future videos, I promise, around some of these themes, how we develop a simple, clear, populist, left-wing messaging. I'll be doing that in other videos, but I did want to do this one, and I look forward to your comments below. For those who doubt that populism can be used on the left, when we look at the history in the 19th century, for instance, the original populist movement was the socialist movement, and if you're not convinced, let me just say this: you have nothing to lose but your chains. Workers of the world, unite. If that's not populism, I don't know what is.